So I've had a number of individuals approach me and say, Henry, what does your daily schedule look like? And what I wanted to do for you in this video is break down my exact schedule, but I want to focus mainly on my come up in the business because it's incredibly important to know that like you have to model what I did during the build of the business instead of trying to model what I'm doing today, because they're going to look very, very different. So without further ado, let's dive into my schedule. Like I said, I'm going to dive into exactly what my schedule looks like within every about 15 to 30 minute blocks, just so you have a very clear, detailed idea of exactly what you need to do, what you should follow in order to see great results in the real estate business. There's going to be a couple things I'm also going to point out that are more residential focused versus more commercial focused. I just want to make sure I make that specific mention here. First and foremost, I think it's important to realize that there is going to be a season of your life for all of us. If you want to see insane results in your life, and obviously in this instance we're talking about selling a lot of real estate, aka making a lot of money, and if this is something that would be new to you, like it was new to me, right? I didn't come from money. Working 100 hours a week might be something you do for quite a period of time. Okay, there's going to be a season of your life, and maybe it's not 100 for you, maybe it's 50, 60, or 70, and for some of you it might be 100, 110, 120 hours a week. I mean, it just depends on what you want in your life. My vision, my goal, my dream was to be rich. I was not afraid in the business/job career that I was in prior to real estate. I was working 7 days a week. So it wasn't really new to me to work 100 plus hours a week. It's just what I thought you had to do. Now, obviously, today I realize that you don't have to work 100 hours a week, but I really do believe that if you want to make a lot of money and you've never done that before, and you're going to do something that, again, you've never done before, you're going to have to do something you've never done before, right? If you want to achieve something you've never had, you're going to have to do something you've never done. It's just important to know that what I'm here to share with you is a season of my life that I went through for about somewhere in the vicinity of about 3.5 to 4 years of my life. And this is exactly what my schedule looked like. Essentially, what I would do is that I would wake up there was a period of time where I woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning earlier, but I'm not going to dive into that. This is more like something that realistically a large majority of you can follow. Waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, getting into some self-development, having a good morning routine, making sure that, again, I like to have a shake in the morning. I like to make sure I stay healthy and stay fit. Making sure you work out. So again, from waking up at 6 o'clock, I like to get right to a workout session where I have my morning routine done, have some self-development done. I like to listen to content while I work out or while I'm in the car on the way to the gym. So I like to have all that done before really 7:30 in the morning. I can come home, I can shower, I can change, and get to the office by 8 o'clock. The whole purpose is wake up early enough where you can get all your personal stuff done, have a workout session, have some self-development time, and where you can get to the office before 8 o'clock in the morning so that you can start your day at 8 a.m. Because I want to stress to you that every single one of you should have a beginning time to your business and a close time to your business, or an opening and a close time. It's incredibly important to know, like, hey, if you don't bookend your day is going to be all over the place. So it's not like, just like a business has like a 9 to 5 open and close, it's okay for you to have an open and close time where like you're not going to respond to a client who messages you at 9:50 p.m. at night or at 6:10 in the morning. You're just not going to respond, and you'll respond appropriately. I would wake up early. I get to my workout sessions, get all my personal stuff done, and I got to the office by like around 7 o'clock because I was up at like 3:30, 4 o'clock for a good portion of that. But again, I want to make this as clear as possible for something that people can follow because I'm not expecting you to wake up at 4 in the morning. Anyways, I got to the office a little before 7 a.m., but in this instance, I'm really being as specific as possible is make sure you get to the office before 8 so you can get working at 8 o'clock sharp. The only people who really sleep in are real estate agents and people who don't have jobs. In this instance, I'm trying to be as clear as possible with you. It's like, listen, the large majority of people are awake, and it's time for you to get to work. And obviously when you don't have a boss, it can be pretty difficult not knowing like, oh, what do I do today, right? Like, I'm being really clear with you, this is what you should be doing. So at 8 a.m., I like to always have a meeting with myself. And I did this obviously at 7 a.m., but again, for this purpose, I'm gonna try to be specific here. At 8 a.m., have a meeting with yourself. Now again, if you have a team, you're gonna have a meeting with your team every day at 8 a.m. I've had morning meetings at 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. It's just, at different times in my life, different moments with my team, depending on how many people, when they got there, get my point. First thing I always like to do is when I get to the office is have a meeting. Either, again, if you're a solo agent, have a meeting with yourself, and a meeting looks like this. What does my current active deals look like? And who do I need to bring attention to? What does my current pending deal pipeline look like? And what do I need to bring attention to? Is there any red flags? That's the whole purpose of this, is like any red flags that need to be handled right away. Am I in a really healthy position in my pipeline, or do I need to like go absolutely nuts and like literally drop everything else and just go ham to build my pipeline? As well as last thing I like to always touch on is like, who can I get in touch with today in order to get a deal signed? That's like my first thing, one of the last questions I always ask is like, just put myself in an excited mood. Who, if I needed a deal today, make some money today, get a contract signed today, who would I call? So after that meeting, again, you're gonna go through all red flags. So hypothetically, if John, the owner of a property you have listed, is like, oh, you know, they're freaking out, they're sending you messages, they're like going crazy. How come this is going on? What's going on? Major red flag, that needs to be handled in the next 15 minutes, okay? So if your meeting only takes 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, obviously depending on how big your team is, the next 15 minutes from 8:15 to 8:30, I'd recommend that you handle all red flags. You wanna handle it immediately. First thing you wanna do, because the last thing you wanna do is wait and push off a red flag that should be handled right away. And most of the time, it's just one phone call. It's important to know that 100% of your priority should just be handling all red flags so that by 8:30 sharp, you're clear-headed, you're good, you can be relaxed, your shoulders are down, you're not freaking out about something that should be handled right now. That's the morning half. Now, let's get into the calls. So at 8:30 sharp, I now did this, again, when I was primarily on the residential side, I would call expireds first at 7:30 in the morning. And then by 7:45, I would call canceleds and all the withdrawn listings. And then I would call all the for sale by owners. And then I would call circle prospecting for the rest of the period of time. In the commercial world, what I would recommend that you're doing from 8:30 till 1. Now, again, this is a long period of time, okay? And it's meant to be a long period of time. I would tell you that you should be calling for 4 hours minimum a day if you are not making the money you want to be making. And by the way, I say minimum for a reason. You should possibly be making more, and we'll talk about that shortly. What I want to stress to you is I would already have your list. This is not a time to then pull your list. This is a time to now just make phone calls. At 8:30 sharp, you're just going to be making your calls. And these calls look like the following. Either circle prospecting a certain area, a certain town for a specific asset class. My name is Henry and I'm calling on behalf of a client of mine named John. John's looking for a property just like yours and he's looking to buy something within the next 60 to 90 days. Is this a property you might consider selling? Very, very simple call. And that's the type of list that I'm typically calling. So while you're making your calls, there's only one objective, and that's the main thing I want you to keep in mind here. That is, on the residential side, to set appointments. That's the only purpose of making a phone call. You want to set appointments. On the commercial side is to gather information so that you can then either set the appointment to go list the property and or make an offer to purchase the property on the behalf of one of your clients. What I'd recommend that you're doing here is you're dialed in, and you're trying to do mainly one thing at a time. And if you suck at multitasking, kind of block out the next thing I'm about to say to you. Because when I'm on a dialer, because I export these lists and I sit on a dialer, I'm on Mojo Dialer. What I want to recommend to you here is, while you're dialing, because there's going to be a period of time in between calls where nobody's answering and you're just leaving voicemails. So what I would recommend you're doing is that you have your follow-up list on a separate screen. I have 2 huge monitors behind me that's connected to my laptop. And on one side I have Mojo Dialer, I have my notes. On the other screen I have my CRM with all the follow-up tasks that I have to do and all the leads that I have to follow up with. So what I recommend, and I tell all my agents, and this is what I did for a long period of time, is that for 95% of my follow-up, okay, which is basically everything besides like the hottest of hot leads, what I would do is I would text them and email them for follow-up purposes while I'm making my calls. And then as soon as the Mojo will beep when someone's on the phone, I will pause whatever I'm doing, I mean mid-email, mid-text message, and I'll go into my call. And I would do this for the 4 hours. So essentially I would be doing all of my follow-up except for the very, very hot seller leads that I had to get a hold of, the best leads, which I would have, again, let's just say I had 40 tasks to do. You don't have 40 people you need to call today, but I had 40 people I needed to reach out in some capacity. Don't get me wrong. I would definitely recommend that, again, it goes call, voicemail, text message, email in that order on a large majority of the best leads. But when these are people who are a year out, 2 years out, you don't need to call them right now. What I would recommend is that you're focusing a lot on generating new leads, and then you're spending all that extra time where you can multitask doing all of the text messages and emails that you need to handle for your CRM and get everything organized so that when you hit 1 o'clock, okay, which by the way, yes, I do intermittent fasting, or I'd have a shake. I have my shake ready with me. So what I recommend here is you're going to hold off on leaving the office or really doing anything. There is no distractions here. There is no leaving the office between, up until 1 o'clock. I didn't set a single appointment before 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Even really it was 1:30 because I needed time to go there. So most of the time it was between a 1:30 and a 2 o'clock appointment was the earliest appointment I would take during the day because I'm not screwing up my morning schedule. And then I can do some of those follow-up calls, those hottest calls. I could do that right before I go on my appointment or I could do that in the car to my next appointment. At 1 o'clock, let's just say you had a great session. Now you did all your calls. Kudos to you, proud of you. What I recommend is listen, if you're hungry, which I fully understand, and you want to go out and get food, okay. And I'd recommend that you just have it delivered. Use Grubhub, DoorDash, whatever you want to use, and just have it delivered to your house or your office or wherever you are making your calls, so you don't have to leave. It's even worth it so that you can just be more productive. I did that for a long time. And if you are truly I need to go out and get some food, okay, cool. However, I would just make it a working lunch. Go out and meet somebody, right? So if you have to go somewhere, right, have to go out, you're desperate to doing that, which doesn't make any sense to me or truly, but I recommend that okay, fine. If you want to go meet people, make it a working lunch. Because what I would do was that I would have people come to my office and meet me. Hey, why don't you come by my office? We'll have a cup of coffee, right? There was a coffee machine, I had coffee at my office. Now because I do a lot of my work from home, those same meetings are now just like, I'm in a nice, beautiful downtown area. So I could literally walk to a bunch of restaurants. There's a place that's literally a 2-minute drive from my house. So I don't really have to go too far for people to meet me, okay? Because I try to make it very close where I don't have as much wasted time. That's the key part here. So you can be productive as often as possible, because again, every dollar that you're not doing something is dollars that you're really essentially wasting. In this instance, it's really important to pay attention to how can I minimize my distractionary time, which is like going out and getting food. Can I get it delivered instead? Or am I gonna go sit at a restaurant and just sit there and eat food by myself? Or instead, can I say, how can I make this as productive as possible? Can I get the food delivered? Can I have someone come to my office? Or if I'm gonna meet somebody, fine, we'll go out and we'll get food together, but I wanna say like, hey, I only have 45 minutes. Just wanna let you know that ahead of time. And I'm very direct. You've had your food, you met with somebody, whatever it is. Now we're at somewhere between 1 and 2 p.m. What I recommend is here's the following. Either you're going on appointments the entire rest of the day, okay? That's the entire purpose of the rest of your day, is just go on as many appointments as possible, go meet clients, go shake hands, go meet people, okay, at their properties. And at the same exact time, if you do not have appointments today, guess what you should be doing? I hope you said make more calls, because that's exactly right. You should be making more calls, generating more opportunities, leads, so that you will eventually have a day where you have just appointments to go on. Now, I want to be super clear about this as well. The entire rest of the day will look like the following. If you had an unbelievable morning, let's just say you knocked it out of the park, you had 500 calls, you had 100 conversations, like it was a freaking powerhouse of a morning for prospecting. In this instance, I want you to know that for the large majority of times where you are not knocking out of the park and it's just an average prospecting day, because there's going to be a lot of them, and get excited. Which is what it is. It's what it is. You're gonna have insane amount of days that are just average prospecting days, and that's just part of the numbers. For the rest of your day that you don't have appointments, yes, you're gonna be making more phone calls, you could be doing more circle prospecting, you can be calling for more clients. All the same stuff is going to occur, you're just going to do more of it. And in this type of economy, you're going to have an insane amount of effort put in for the same amount of result that people were getting a year ago. And obviously, once things go back to a crazy new normal, I mean, back in 2020, back in 2021, when the economy was ridiculous and you could fog a mirror and sell a bunch of real estate, you were doing half as much effort for twice as much result, which is not how the economy works forever. Things are cyclical. The other key points I want to bring up are the following. Beyond just going on appointments or beyond making more calls, there's a few extra things I would be doing. Number one, spending at least 15 minutes on social media every day, posting content, not scrolling on Instagram. Build your brand and build your online presence. Incredibly important. 15 minutes a day. I recommend that you also be spending 30 minutes to an hour networking, because building your network is incredibly valuable. Put in your calendar for 30 minutes to an hour a day. What does it look like? So many people get like, oh, I don't want to go to an event. I don't want to, go to this networking thing or whatever, right? A lot of people do that. It's not just that for networking. No, it's simply like, hey, my friend John, who happens to own a mortgage company, or my friend John, who is a contractor, or my friend John, who's a builder or developer or whatever, I need to call them and I need to set up a time to go meet with them, and I'm going to go have dinner with them, or I'm going to get a coffee meeting with them, which, by the way, if you're trying to conserve money, coffee meetings are the best. If you are in a good financial place, then listen, go to dinner. It's okay. Not a big deal. Or even go to lunch. It's just a little bit cheaper of a thing, right? I used to go to a lot of dinners, and incredibly expensive, and I would end up paying for 2, 3, 4 of us out at dinner all the time. I mean, like, it was not a smart move. In my instance, if I could look back again, coffee meetings and lunches are just the cheaper way to do it. So the other thing I'd like to stress to you, beyond everything I just covered in regards to the hours after all the prospecting, if you have enough leads, you're in a good place, and you're like, all right, what else can I be doing? There is about 2 to 3 different things that I would be focusing on. Number one, managing your money. So I would be covering, going through your P&L, make sure your metrics are all being tracked. How many calls did I make? Like, are you tracking all your metrics? This could be just kind of encompassed of like tracking all of your metrics. Money will be one of them, but really dialed in on your metrics, tracking everything. Every bit of your business should be tracked. It's incredibly important to make sure that you're doing that. And if you have some extra time, spend 15 minutes to make sure you're doing that. Number two, trying to put yourself out of business. And what I mean by that is constantly looking at technology of how I can implement things like ChatGPT and other things in my business right now so that I can stay ahead of the curve. So these are things like new softwares that are coming out, new technology that you can download, start using and playing around with. Spend 15 minutes on this, constantly being at the forefront of your industry. Last thing I always like to say is, like, I'm a fanatic about investment properties. I'm sure you guys know that by now. One of the last things I always like to be doing, which, by the way, doesn't have to happen every single day, but at least 1 or 2 days a week, I like to drive around and drive for dollars. When me and my fiance are going to go to dinner, I'll take the really long route and I'll go through different areas where I know there's a lot of commercial properties, and I want to look around and I drive really slow, and I'll look around and I'll see if there's any properties that are dilapidated, where properties are kind of like a sore thumb in a certain area, what looks like it's kind of out of place, because I'm going to then write down that address, and then I'm going to find their contact information, and then I'm going to give them a phone call and see if I can do a deal with that person. So I'll take a little bit extra time if we're going to go out to dinner, if I'm doing something that night. I just take a little bit longer of a route. I'll make sure I'm just openly aware of my surroundings and looking at different properties as we're driving around. I'm not just like listening to music, singing along. So I want to make it super productive. And I do believe that there is a time and a place for you to be driving around for dollars. And obviously, if you are doing other things and you have an extra 15 to 30 minutes, take an extra turn and go off an extra exit and go drive around, because you're going to find opportunities differently when you're driving for dollars versus just driving to drive. A lot of information kind of impact, in a nice compact video. I want to just quickly touch on what I'm doing now that might be a little bit different than what I've been doing in the past. Last thing I want to say to you guys, I'm going to let you guys rock and roll today, is in this economy, this is an important time for you guys to make massive shifts in your business. So right now, if you are not doing all of the right activities in which we shared, it's totally okay. Great to be self-aware. Now it's time to implement at a very high level, because if you do not implement, you do not shift, you do not adapt, who's going to do it for you? So besides that, everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And again, if you not downloaded my script book, which is in the description down below, make sure you guys check that out. This way you guys can be making your prospecting calls and having the highest conversion rates possible. And other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.
If you're still watching this video, that means to me that you're a committed real estate agent and you're looking to take your life and business to the next level. I'm just curious, why have you yet to schedule your free, no obligation coaching consultation? All you have to do is simply go in the description down below, and people are telling me this call has been the most unbelievable, the most powerful call they've had in their entire career. And here's just a few of the individuals who have taken full advantage of this call. And my mission is to support as many realtors as possible, build a 6- and 7-figure net income business so that they don't have to rely on this industry anymore for their everyday income. If you're a committed realtor, which I can see like you are, all you have to simply do to take full advantage of this free coaching consultation is to go in the description down below and schedule your free call now.